So, something big just happened. We got an update in War Thunder, and this video will be my thoughts on all the changes and additions, because there are some major ones. So, to begin, I'm not going to address the elephant in the room. I'm going to go over the minor things. So, first things first, America got a new heavy tank. So, you have the T-32, and we now have the T-32E1. Now, my knowledge of it is that the frontal armor is made stronger. So you have 127 millimeters, 222 effective thickness, and let's check the regular T-32, because I know there's a machine gun. Yeah, there's a machine gun mount. So it's only 200, so you get 20 more millimeters of armor on a T-32E1. But the thing is, I don't understand, like, to get this tank, you have to research the T-32. So it's like the STA-1 with the STA-2. And like that, why would I research that unless I, like, don't want to use the AA? Like, why don't I just go straight to the M103, which is got, like, a little bit less protection, but nonetheless, I do believe you have a bigger gun. I think that's only a 90. Yeah, it's a 90, and that's a 120 millimeter. So you're taking out more armor or a bigger gun. Now, in American aviation, the F4F got a redesign, so it has a better model. And I have to admit, it is a lot better model, better looking model than the one we had previously. And we also have two new skins. We have one for Galler, and which just has the red stripes, I believe. Yeah, so it's just got a red stripes, same color, and then you also have a light gray, which I've never seen an F4F in that, but it looks pretty cool because we always see them in regular blue. And then there's also one for the F4F, and it's about the same. So going on to Germany, oh, they had a new aircraft. They have, why am I in the tanks? They have the new Ju-288C, which is a bomber, premium bomber. It's got guns everywhere. It's got two there, two there, two there, and one big ol' one there. 20 millimeters, 13 millimeters, 13 millimeters, 13 millimeters. It does have an impressive bomb load, so it's also meant for high altitude. I know that the later Ju like 88 series, like the 188, 288, 388, 488, are all supposed to be for high altitude. I believe actually the 388 or 488 was not a bomber, but it was a recon. And it is okay. They made it a lot cheaper, because originally it was 7,000 and people just throwing fits. You can look at the dev blog. They were pissed the hell off. Only other thing that's new here is the T-80B now has Contact 1. So you have reactive armor. Then you have this piece of garbage. Look at this little turd. Look at him. You know how it makes him even worse? It's only got 25 millimeters. The Horo has that same amount of frontal armor. And it's battle rating 3.7? Like, freaking everything is gonna eat it apart. It'll be fighting KV-1s and KV-2s. Well, no, not KV-2s. It'll be fighting, like, T-3457s? Like, poor thing's gonna get murdered. I don't know why they added it. I mean, it is a pretty obscure vehicle. World of Tanks doesn't have it yet. Speaking of that. And as for Japan, we finally have another ground vehicle. And it's a premium. We now have the Type 75 MLRS system. And you cannot reload the rockets. Like, once you fired all those rockets, you just gotta deal with it. So I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I don't know. It's kind of dumb. There could have been better Japanese tanks added, honestly. Nothing aviation. And then in France, they got a new bomber. They have this thing, which is, they didn't even try to cover the radar, it's just poking out. Got some big old rockets. It's got German guns. It's got MG-151s, so it's got, yeah, 2 of them poking out, so it does have some defensive and offensive capability. But other than that, it's pretty par from, I don't care, I could care less about French aircraft. Now then, on to the larger, oh wait. Germany also got helicopters, so that means I can play as helicopters because I'm almost tier 5 with aircraft. Now, frick, I don't want to test flight. Okay, so America gets the classic, the AH-1 Cobra. I love this helicopter. It's just so sleek and menacing looking. A classic, nonetheless. Now, Russia gets the Mi-4. Mi-4, it's not really an attack helicopter, more of a recon, but it's still, I mean, it's got armor. Never mind, it doesn't have armor. Most helicopters don't have armor, but, like, it's bulky. I mean, it looks like a helicopter. Like, it looks like something you'd go to war in. It's militaristic. Makes sense. Now, Germany gets this thing. I would not want to fly this thing to combat. Like, look, now, fun fact, I thought it only had rockets, but you actually have 4 MG3 machine guns. And you also have 2 guided missiles and a bunch of rocket pods. So, and that's like right off the bat, because I test flew it before making this video, before I started recording, and it does have the ATGMs stock. I don't know if anything else does. So of course it's got a Huey, another classic helicopter design, and then we have the new BO-105, which I believe is some, I don't know, pretty ugly. It's got ATGMs, no other offensive armament. This thing, more ATGMs, got tow missiles. I don't think the other one had tows. Hot missiles, and then this is the, okay, so it's just got 8 tow missiles. But they also have a Hind, so that's pretty cool. In fact, I believe I've seen this Hind. It is at Pima Air Museum. They have a East German Mi-24 Hind. I'll have to double check that. That'd be really cool if it is, because that means I'll technically have seen this exact vehicle in real life. I mean, it had really similar paint job. It had the East German markings. Alright, now the big part. The fleets. I have no idea what boats are, but, like, I could care less. So, yeah, I don't know what, another interesting thing is that Japan does not have a fleet, but Russia does. Did you know Russia had a fleet? Yeah, I didn't think so. They don't, their fleet, the only thing their fleet did in World War II was cause the greatest naval maritime disaster ever recorded when they sunk a freaking passenger liner and killed like 5,000 people. Yeah, that's all they did. That's the only thing the Russian Navy did in the entire war. That, as far as I'm concerned, it's major. So anyway, America, they just have a bunch of little PT boats. This line has a bunch of 37 millimeters, and it looks like, oh, so this one doesn't. All these 3, they do. They have like a Sherman cannon, or an M4 cannon. See right there? It looks like a Nerf gun. Like that's something like Nerf would make. Like they have a string of Nerf bullets, and you just run around and you shoot your friends with it. They do have, which you can't get anymore, they had the PT-109. There's the PT-3. I'm not gonna go through. I wanted to go through every single one of these originally and just be like me reacting, but honestly, that would probably be really boring. So I'm just gonna pick a couple from America because I could care less. First of all, I really like the name of this one, 80-foot nasty. It sounds like something you call like a turd. Like you go to the bathroom, you come out and you're like, I just made an 80-foot nasty. That's what this boat sounds like to me, which is kind of comical. This is the same boat, I believe, as the PT-109, the Elco PT boat. I'm surprised they didn't do like the riverine boats, like the Pibber. I know there's a third one I can't think of the name of. And then there's the river monitors, which have like 3 machine guns and a Bofors cannon. Or you can go real crazy with it and have the Zippo. So, you need to, I believe America, they have sub chasers. And they have depth charges, I believe. But the major thing that, yeah, they have depth charges. But the major thing that I'm interested in is that it's a sub chaser, and they added depth charges. So there's going to be subs in this game at one point. I mean, the April Fools, I believe, this year was in fact subs. And usually, whenever they do an April Fools, the past year they had one with modern day tanks and helicopters, and they had one with boats. So they were the prototypes for things to come. So being that the April Fools this year was submarines, they're just not going to throw away submarine technology. They're obviously going to implement it. When? I don't know. I mean, boats have been in closed beta testing forever, as far as I can recall. But yeah, that's kind of interesting to think of. Let's see. Here's a hydrofoil. It's got some Bofors and a mortar and a couple machine guns. Are these 12? America doesn't really interest me. Like, there's nothing really interesting. I could care less about bigger boats. Like, all the little small ships look like they'd be fun. Like, if you're a destroyer, your PT boat's just gonna, like, torpedo you. That's what I think. And I don't think it'll be a lot of fun until it gets to, like, ship-on-ship action. So, that's some highlights from America. Germany has a lot more interesting things. So you have the S-boots, the little patrol craft. These guys. I know these guys. They're armored. Also, none of the boats have armor. Like, these guys at least have some degree of armor compared to the other ones. Now, this one's pretty interesting. I did not know this. This appears to be a hydrofoil, but it is World War II era. And I did not know that Germany experimented with hydrofoils. Nazi Germany, especially. Because, yeah, you can see right there, there's the outline, there's the hydrofoil. I did not know hydrofoil technology was that old. I thought it was like the 1960s. We were all just like, oh yeah, let's try this frickin' crap. Now, this line is pretty funny to me. Because when they announced boats, we didn't know ships were coming. They announced boats. And I was like, they should add this boat. This one. And this is before I got back into War Thunder. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go check it on War Thunder. And I saw the dev vlog where they added this, and I was like, oh my god, they added it. It's a literal flak barge. 4 88s and 2 20mm. This is just wonderful. I would totally, what tier is this? So it's tier 2, 26,000, wow, that's a lot. Ships are quite a bit, but again, that's like cruisers, so it makes sense. Yeah, they also have, I've never seen this one before, they have a light version, which is still going to be devastating, because, as I said, boats don't have armor. This thing is pretty well around. I also wonder if it's a catamaran, because it's a catamaran, if you shoot a torpedo at it, will it just go underneath it, or will it count as hitting the hitbox? So that's a question I do have going into the test. And they have they have more battle barges. They have like an entire tree of just barge warships, which looks pretty funny to me. This one's pretty armored. 40 millimeters. 15. So yeah, the barge is pretty well armored. They have a ship that has got missiles on it. This ship. Those are indeed missile launchers, and I wonder if they'll ever be. I'm pretty sure they will be implemented at some point, which will just be hell. And once again, I could care less for larger ships, just because. And another thing I noticed is that the stock ships, the like ones where it's like, oh, you start off aviation, you get Thatch's F2A or you get Galler's F3F, like they're just the same. Like they don't usually have like a difference. They're just a pre-paint job. Like Flegel's BF109, it's got 2 MG17s, 2. So yeah, it's just like the same thing. That's just like an I-153. That's just a Gladiator. That's just an A5M. That's just a CR42. And that's just a D5. Actually, there is no D5-10. But it's like the exact same thing as that. So, what I noticed is that these are different ships. So it's not just a reskin of that. It's a completely different ship, has different armament. This one has 2 turrets and 2 torpedoes. This one has 2 turrets. Alright, so it's got the same armament, but it is a different ship, in fact. As with Germany, I already customized it. They have this little guy, who's just got a 15 millimeter, but the gift one you get for starting it has a 20 millimeter cannon. And it's just interesting to note. It also has 2 torpedoes, which I don't know where they would launch from. Where's the torpedo? Oh, it farts them out the back. Does this one have 2 torpedoes? This one does. So that's about it for my thoughts on Germany. I mean, you do have larger ships that do have larger things, but they're just bigger targets in my mind, which I wouldn't want to play. And now with Russia, once again, I did edit, customize mine. This is the only Russian boat that I was like remotely interested in. Like if it's like, oh, if it's not a tier 1, I'll at least get to this one because it looks goofy. It's got some armored glass, but once again, it does launch the torpedoes at the back, which I didn't know ship did that, which is kind of cool. It has a DSHK, but this one has a Schwack cannon. Once again, it only is a 20 millimeter difference, but still, oh, it does have a different paint job too, which is kind of interesting. Now, Russian ships, I could care less about Russian planes. I could care less about Russian tanks. Russian ships actually semi-interest me because they have just, well, this isn't a good example, but let me find one that does. Yeah, they just have tank cannons on them. And they're, get out of here, they're pretty armored. And that's, I've never, like, we don't do that. We don't put, like, Sherman turrets on boats, but they just straight up put T-34 turrets. And this one, I think, no, that's not the one I was thinking of. One of them, this one, just has a PT-76 turret. Like, it's weird to me. I've never seen that before. They do have some weird ones, like, is this the one that, yeah, like, how the frick are you gonna use the guns when they're so sunk into the boat? It doesn't seem like you could fully operate it. Or use it to its full potential. Also, this one's new, so they added this one to this update, whereas the closed beta testers could use it. They have, like, a more armored looking, it's got an 85. I believe there is a boat. This one, yeah, no, not that one. Not that one. Okay, so that's the 1940 version, which just has regular T-34 4 turrets. And then there's one of them. This one, it's got T-34-85 turrets. Like, these interest me. Like, I could care less about any of the other ships, as I've said numerous times. But due to their being so armored, it kind of interests me. I'm sure it'll be a little bit slower, but still interesting. You also have British ships, which I could care less about, because they're British. They're all the same class, I believe. They're all like Fairmail B, Fairmail C, Fairmail D. Nothing really interesting here for me. I didn't really take a peek. And there's boats. That boat has a boat on it. They're just like, they look like steamships. They look so dumb. I would never use these. I'd never use any British air vehicles, honestly. I mean, this one's got like it's got a 114mm cannon. Look at that. And it does have 2. Those look like guns, but they aren't. Alright, well, that wraps my opinion up. I could care less about Britain. And America, I'll get the meme boat. But other than that, Germany and Russia, of all things, are the only ones that are truly interesting to me. So, yeah, that wraps everything else. Look at this thing first. Ooh, so that's a later. You can tell a boat is more modern in Russia if it has a red surface. I do believe that is a post-war modification. But yeah. So I'm gonna make a next video. It's gonna be me playing it, which will be done right after this.